This is Mike Bullard, the most distinguished voice in hockey, and you're listening to the Sheriff Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to an exclusive episode of The Sheriff. Guys, today is the day. I have the guy with me right here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about the Mount Rushmore of NHL enforcers and tough guys. In my opinion, the most feared NHL fighter in history, okay? He's also penned a foreword in the book, The Code, ladies and gentlemen. That is the unwritten rules of fighting and retaliation in the NHL. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Twister, a.k.a. Tony Twist, how are you doing this evening, my friend?
I couldn't be any better. Thank you, Sheriff. Appreciate the invite and hope to just endorse what you believe in, and because my answers aren't changing, and I think you and I hitting the same chord there.
Yes, buddy. I mean, I'm excited for many different ways, man. And one reason why is because I was telling you before the recording, Twister, I'm a big fan of yours, man. As are everybody that's listening right now to my podcast. They're going to see Tony Twist episode number 82, and they're going to be like, I got to hear this one, right? Because, dude, honestly, I was born in 1982. When you changed from Quebec to St. Louis, okay, that was when I was like 12 years old. That was when I was really starting to watch hockey. That's when I really started appreciating the fights, Twister. I would see a fight on TV. You could ask my mom, and I would get all excited. I'd start running around the room. I'd be like, man, this is insane. This is crazy. Look at this entertainment. Look at these warriors going to battle on the ice. And I was a young hockey player, right? So I couldn't get over it. Now, where I'm getting at with this, Twister, is I like to go to the beginnings, and I want to hear Tony Twist's beginning. Now, at first, buddy, I'm looking at Hockey DB, and I'm reading Prince George. And then I keep doing my research, and I'm like, this guy's not from Prince George. This guy's from Sherwood Park, Alberta. Let's talk about Sherwood Park, my friend. That's the birthplace, right?
Well, let me tell you, I was told you I'll tell you the truth. Sherwood Park, Alberta is not where I was born. When the NHL came in to do when the NHL came into the weigh-ins, you know, at that time they'd come to the dressing room, they'd take your height and your weight and find out all your logistics here, your date of birth and where you're from and whatever. I mean, I gave them the height and the weight was all right, but I gave them a different birth date in a different city, and it's stuck with me since day one. From day one, I didn't even tell them where I lied to the NHL, and to try to, as going back to Wikipedia won't change it. That's where they think I'm from. I was born in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And then my father transferred to Prince George, and that's where I spent my junior career.
Yes, no, of course. Okay, so Saskatoon.
Correct.
That's the birthplace?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So how long was the family in Saskatoon?
Well, my dad was a police officer, an RCMP officer. We were there.
Nice.
We were in Quebec, Calvington, then Saskatoon. Left Saskatoon to go to Prince George, and I think I was 6 or 7.
Okay. So Prince George is really kind of where you grew up then, correct?
Well, Mom and Dad was transferred again to go to Kamloops when I was 16, and I stayed back, and I was playing junior with the Spruce Kings.
Okay, perfect. So Prince George it is, my friend. I want to talk a little Prince George with you. I just want to talk about when you were young, when you were going to school, minor hockey. What was your minor hockey team like? Did you play for the same team all the way up, or?
Well, I mean, as you well know, the Canadian aspect of hockey is incredibly different than the U.S. Throughout my career, I played on multiple teams, obviously. Living in a smaller city like Prince George, you saw the same players, saw a majority of the same better players up front, back, goaltending. So there was a diversity, though. We had a plethora of good hockey players in my age group. And as a consequence, we had two, right up to midgets, where we had two very competitive hockey clubs in the same age group, whereas other cities only had one. in our surrounding area. And as a consequence, the competition was very stiff and we were very competitive, and it really did benefit at the end of the day.
Yeah. So what about the tournaments then? You guys must have like been dominant in the tournaments then if you were the stronger.
We actually did. We won the Kamloops, the Kamloops Quebec International Hockey Tournament. We won that, which was huge. We won 2 other, I forget what it was called. It's too many years ago. We won 2 great big freaking things over the course of time. And the players escalate. We had some good hockey players that went on to do other things, but it was a good nucleus.
Right on. So now here's a question for you. Obviously St. Louis and Quebec were your NHL clubs. So you're Mr. Quebec Nordique as well as Mr. St. Louis Blue. Did you guys go to that Pee Wee tournament in Quebec City?
No, actually, the Pee Wee tournament that we went to was the Pee Wee. It was the Pee Wee International in Alberta. We won that. That was we didn't make it. We opted out. There's 2 big Pee Wee tournaments, and we did the one in Alberta. As in Quebec, they had the other big Pee Wee. We couldn't afford to get there, so we did the one in Alberta. We did win that.
Okay, right on. Nice. Okay, so now this is where I kind of want to go with this. Now, you were a very, very good hockey player, obviously growing up. Like, and when I say very good, I mean best on the team, because that's what I'm getting from the research.
Well, as right through the midget, wore the C or an assistant captain.
Did you?
Oh yeah, put the puck in the net a few times, but had a good solid, first line, second line, up front or behind. And as the graduation went to Prince George with the Spruce Kings in the junior hockey, the role changed.
Okay.
And the role changed to, eventually made me a career.
Yeah. Okay, now I definitely want to get into the specifics of that. But now before that, Tony, this is what I want to talk about. You're one of the biggest characters that have come on the show, okay? As far as like fighters go, probably the biggest, okay? Now, what I find is with the biggest characters, there's somebody in their childhood that kind of formed that character. Like Tony Twist, were you born with this toughness? Or was it molded into you? Did your dad have something to do with it, being a tough cop? What was it, brother? What was it when you were younger that helped you get this mindset?
Well, I had a great upbringing. My parents are wonderful, and I had none of that influence on my parents' side.
Okay.
Where I went to high school is a different story. Picture this. You go to high school, you want to get good grades. So every class you go to, you're searching to get that A and B. You don't want no C or Fs. And over the course of the week, in the back of your mind is you're going to fight the toughest guy from another school or your school on Friday in the field where everybody's going to come out and watch. That's where it came from. I don't know how many fights in high school parties, where, just being the big guy. And not a hothead at all, really not. Just like the enthusiasm, enjoyed it, and and I equate it to that because when you're in that role, that's what you're always thinking. And even in high school, because I was playing junior hockey when I was in high school. That's in the back of my mind. Where did it form? It formed right there because my upbringing was wonderful. It graduated, and it graduated quickly.
It sure did graduate quickly, my friend. Now, okay, so Prince George Spruce Kings. I was looking this team up, and
Did you look up Charlestown Chiefs? Because it was like that when I played there.
Really?
Oh my
God. Really? Okay. So now let's get into this. So this is before Saskatoon. So you're 15 years old, correct?
I turned 16. I graduated at 16.
Okay, so you were 16 years old playing for this tier 2 team. Now, had you fought like in minor hockey before that, or was this the first opportunity to do that?
Not in the game of hockey.
Okay.
Not a full on. Plenty of times on the street and school and it goes it. But nothing before junior hockey.
Okay,
Danny Gunton was the captain of the Prince George Spruce Kings, and I remember him asking him, "Oh, how do I do this?" And he would show center ice at the old barn in Prince George.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're gonna give him credit for teaching you the twister style?
Well, he gave me a head start. My style was quickly developed. I had
Of course.
my style was just one. You know, I'm here to win. I'm not playing the game not to lose. I'm playing the game to win. That was all.
Yes.
That was the style. There is no other style for me. And I do understand the technicians. I do understand the operators that do it the other way. I get it. Mine was completely the other way. All in or all out.
Right on, man. So you saw the opportunity of getting that role as a 16-year-old, and you jumped all over it.
Well, here's where the graduation came. When I started at 16, I was a top 2, top 3 defenseman.
Okay.
The following year, we had some better older players because 17 to 21, we had some older players come in on the back end, and I got pushed back. My role, because the first year at 16, I was fighting all these older guys and doing really well, got relegated to just fighting only. And at the age of 17, midway through season, I quit.
Okay.
I told my father I wanted to do more. I wanted to play the game. Wasn't happy with just beating tar every night. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, but I wanted a different role allocation. I didn't want to be put out there, as a one-stepper at the age of 17. And the rest of the year I sat out. And
really?
then and I was my rights were with the Seattle Breakers. They were traded to the Kamloops Blazers.
Yep.
Went to camp at 17, and I said no, I'm not interested. That was the 17 year, and they traded me over to Saskatoon for Troy Volhofer, and that's where I ended up in Saskatoon.
Okay, so perfect, because I would love to talk about the Saskatoon Blades right now. So, all right, so now you've adapted the role. You didn't like it because you knew that you were a complete player, but you were so dominant, Twister.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I like the role.
I know you liked the role, and you were also so dominant that your team wanted you to be the designated guy, correct?
I have no problem with it. But I wanted to play the game. I had a skill set. Going into the junior hockey parade, I had a skill set. And granted, at the youngest, at 16, with the oldest being 21, there is a great deal of education and skill deficit at that age of 16. But I felt that I had a better place and a better position to be held within that ranks on that second year that I was disappointed because I wanted to play the game.
Yeah. See, what's more impressive to me, Tony, is the fact that, dude, I didn't even know that you were a defenseman at this time. I'm looking at all these things thinking that you're a winger. I'm like, dude, this guy is so you were, let me guess, very reliable, stay at home, solid defenseman, or were you an offensive guy?
Oh, no offense whatsoever.
Okay.
Knock your ass in front of the net, take the puck in the corner, and dish it to somebody who could carry it.
So you were Mr. First Pass or what?
Well, in the beginning, yeah. After that, I was fast pass, fumble, safest place to be.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Was it on Saskatoon that you switched over to the wing, or was that later in pro?
That was, I took the wing position when I was drafted in 88 by the Blues, and Brian Sutter's first coaching. And after training camp in that first year, I played in the back end. And the second, and I was brought, it was the whole year in Peoria, and played 36 games, 300 and some plus penalty minutes. I was out there to make a huge mark. That's all I was interested in. And after training camp of the second year, Brian put me on forward. He said and I understand why. I didn't have the speed to operate. Look at the speed now. Jesus, I'd be pressed on pause. Everybody was going by me. But at that time, I didn't have the speed to be a defenseman. And he put me on wing where I had access to 5 players, 6 including the goaltender, which is not out of the game either, by the way. And it gave me better access to everybody, and that's where I made the transition.
Perfect. I love hearing that because, dude, I find that there's more guys than you think that did this. Like me and you, we were both defensemen growing up the whole time. We ended up being wingers when we turned pro. You know what I mean? But I find it so interesting that you were a D-man because I thought your numbers were decent, like for being a like a defensive winger type of deal, Tony. You know what I'm saying?
My numbers were horse patooey.
Oh, they were okay. Okay, well, hold on a second. I got some stats for you, my friend. Okay, I got some stats for you. Let's go back to Prince George here. 42 games, 32 goals, 52 points.
Are you kidding me? I scored 32 goals?
Buddy, 32 goals in 42 games. That was the 85-86 season, right before you went to Saskatoon.
Good for me.
Trust me, man. That's as a D-man, as a defenseman.
That's you know what? It doesn't surprise me. I know it. That's awesome. Well, thanks for reminding me.
That's why I thought you were a winger, big guy. Right? 32 goals. How many D-men get 32 goals, even if it's tier 2 or whatever?
Well, let's first of all let's understand where Spruce King / Charlestown Chiefs came into play. We played in the upper territories of British Columbia. We played the Kitamats. We played in Fort St. John, Grand Prairie, in Vanderhoof, in Quesnel. And when you played in these cities, you never knew how many people were going to dress for warm-up, number one. And when you're counting the guys in warm-up, you're going, damn, that guy looks way too old to be 20. Full beard, and hold on. No shoulder pads, no elbow pads. Oh, damn. Hurry up to the dressing room, take off the shoulder pads, take off the elbow pads, and go up for warm-up where there's an all-star brawl before the game. No referee.
Come on.
I'm not kidding you.
Wow. Hello. Welcome to junior, eh? As a 15.
It was a very interesting couple of years. You know, you integrate or migrate, you know, and I had adopted the role of being that guy. So it was, but it was, 2 fights and out. So you had to time yourself. And that was the rule back then. So you couldn't get the second one. And the last 10 minutes of a period, you had to be careful what it still got my penalty minutes. And yeah, it really educated me.
No, 100%, Twister. So now, before we get to this first year pro, because trust me, man, I'm a stat guy, Twister. When I saw those numbers for Peoria, and man, I played in Rockford, Illinois for a year. So now they're in the same division in the AHL, right, with Peoria. And man, I know it must have been the same barn. So I can't wait to get into that with you too. But first, Saskatoon Blades, 2 seasons there. You put up good numbers. After the first year was when you got drafted, right? Like you played 1 year in Saskatoon, got drafted, correct?
I played both years in Saskatoon, and then got drafted my second year.
Okay, so after your second year was when you got drafted. Correct. Okay, so now, where was your draft? Do you remember? You didn't go, just like I didn't go to mine. You didn't go to yours.
Hold on, let me tell you the story.
Let's hear it.
So the night before the draft, when the Kamloops, we had a ton of players in the National Hockey. Greg Hoggood and Rudy Postcheck, and then we had an amazing group of NHL guys that had already made their way. And we were out drinking on a gambling boat the night before. And it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning by the time the taxi poured me home. And my dad was waking me up at 11. He goes, "Hey, you got drafted." And I said, "That's a good one." And I went back to sleep. So I got up, started making, food. And Dad goes, "Good night last night?" I said, "Dad, great. The boys and we had a great time." He goes, "You got drafted." I said, I stop it. I wasn't even thinking about the draft, my good man. And then a phone call came. I didn't believe Dad till they called. That was it. I mean, my aspirations were to go to college, where I had a couple colleges that were offering 4-year rides, and that's where my head was at. It wasn't in the National Hockey League. The draft came by surprise, and I wasn't even looking at it. That's funny. I know there's a lot of kids that get out there. They're thinking draft. What my mindset was way the other direction. Never crossed my mind.
So then that makes this next part even more impressive than Twister, because, dude, you get drafted, and then you turn pro right away. Like the next year you're in Peoria, right? Like nowadays you'll see a kid get drafted and he'll play 2 more years of junior, right? Because you can't, you have to be 20 or older to play in the American Hockey League, but you could be 18 and play in the NHL. So you, my friend, you're going to the IHL, which is today's AHL, okay, to the Peoria. Well, what were they called? Were they the Rivermen back then?
Peoria Rivermen.
Okay, so they were the Rivermen back then as well. Okay, so you go to the Peoria Rivermen. Now, in my opinion, dude, this is the perfect team for you. Okay, we got a blue collar city, we got an old school arena, and man, I played there, Twister. It seems like they just love their tough guys there, bro. Please tell me about this.
This Peoria was, I mean, it still sat close to 10,000 people. I mean, that's Civic Center. I mean, we're talking 1990. That's a big seat.
Yeah.
And at that time, Caterpillar's head was there. So Caterpillar's head office was in Peoria. And it was just either was just escaping or it was still there. They had a lot of employees there, and it's a blue collar city. You could just get up in the morning, you could smell blue collar. It was a little city, and it was a wonderful city for a guy like myself because Chaser and I played junior together. We came from a junior hockey club that was stupid tough, and we came to Peoria, and I can remember looking at Chaser going, "Well, we're gonna kill it here."
Yeah.
And we did, because it was truly a city that embraced us. And we had a great team. We had a fantastic team on both years that we were there. We won the cup the second year, but I was already on my way to Quebec. I mean, it's truly a strong hockey club.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like when I was like, man, this guy was in Peoria. So now this is what impresses me the most. Okay, so you go into Peoria, you'd play junior months before you get there. Okay, so you walk in there, and we talked a little bit before the recording, and I'm getting to understand you a little bit more, man. And the longer we talk, the more I like you, Twister, because we're very, very similar. You wanted to make the biggest mark you possibly could, didn't you, my man? You wanted to make a huge mark, man.
Just like you did. You knew your job, and you know what? Your job's halfway done when you intimidate from the other side. If I'm in your head a week before the game, if I'm in your head a day before the game, if I'm in your head in the pregame nap, dude, I got you covered. I mean, that's a big deal. And when I went to Peoria, I remember it was Wayne Thomas, the old goaltender for the Montreal Canadiens, back up to the one wonderful Ken Dryden. So Wayne Thomas had a lot of hockey background, and he was the coach that year. We were an exhibition, all right? Chaser and I fought 3 times a game for 4 games. We had 6 exhibitions. They gave us the last couple off because they go, "What are you doing? Just making a mark. These are exhibition. These aren't penalty minutes going up on the board." But we wanted to establish ourselves. We knew what our role was. And from those exhibition games on, the moniker and the legend of what be started to personify.
Dude, I mean, yeah, but okay, you're talking preseason. Let me talk a little regular. Let me talk a little regular season to you. 67 games. Now you had 11 points, man, as a rookie, right?
No, heck no. We had a great hockey team. I tell you what, I'm not going to kid nobody out there. I had a position. I could, my plus minus wasn't bad. My skill level was not up to par where, I mean, it's a pretty big graduation when you start stepping into this league. The one thing I did get was 2 extra feet. You know what you can do with 2 extra feet. That's a second or 2. At least I got 2 extra. If for 2 extra seconds, damn it, I should have been Wayne Gretzky.
But man, I just thought it was impressive that you had the 11 points as a first-year guy, because this is what the listeners, I try to remind them as much as possible. We are talking about an era that I believe, Twister, was the toughest era in hockey. Okay?
It was definitely one
the 90s and the early 2000s, brother. Come on, man. We're talking tough hockey.
I agree.
Okay? So now
the mindset in the head was as strong as it was in the 80s and those late 70s. I don't think the head was as strong, but I do believe the players were every bit or more aggressive and tougher.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
So not only did you get the 11 points, Twister, but the 312 minutes. How that's impressive to Sean McMorrow is because I know that you're not a 10-minute misconduct guy. You're not. I looked all the way through. You don't get 10s, my man.
Well, you know what, Chaser and I had, and Chaser was a talented hockey player, and and I give him kudos because he was working on the first and second line, and if you look up his points, extremely impressive. The opportunity that was given to everybody else by those 312 is that I didn't have to play every game. I played 36, 312 minutes, injured, up, down, whatever it may be. But here's the thing, even if I didn't dress in Peoria, there was going to be some sort of retribution if you fooled around in that game. There's going to be a problem because we will play each other. And that is, like we discussed prior to the program, the mindset of what is then and what is now and how the game is policed and conducted. Because our policing in that 80s and 90s in the minor leagues and in the pros, it was done internally. We policed ourselves. The other bench did the work for us.
Yeah, buddy. I'm absolutely loving this. Now, to add to that, I want to talk about how, okay, so you're talking about, now, man, you're saying 30 games, bro. You put in the work that year. You had 67 games played that year. You put in the work. You were the guy. There was 2-3 guys on every roster. No, Twister?
Yeah, there was. We had, Milwaukee, we played them. I think we played Milwaukee like 16 times. I mean, with preseason, it was ridiculous. That was Vancouver's minor league team at the time. They had an incredibly tough team, and it was a gong show. How's that? A gong show. It was a gong show. How's that? And we were the top of the gong show because we had an extremely tough club, top and bottom. Guys that could do the job. And Chaser and I were the two guys, but everybody else could handle themselves.
Yeah.
That tricked down. You think about the old Broad Street Bullies. I mean, everybody did their job. And I tell you what, we acted like we were one.
Yeah. So, okay, man. So that year, you did very, very well. The second year, another productive time. Now, because you started so strong in your second year, obviously that had earned you to be up with the big club. So now
I got a break, bro. It's all about these breaks every once in a while. Todd Ewan was suspended for 10 games in the beginning of that season. And I was given that opportunity to start as the heavyweight for the St. Louis Blues because of his suspension that didn't start to the following season. So I had 10 games. Now, the opportunity came. I ended up spending 40, I think somewhere between 37 and 40 games in the National Hockey League on that first year, somewhere in that, or 36, I forget.
Yeah, 36, yep.
36. Now, in those 36 games, I think I fought 27 times. Okay, Brian Sutter was very explicit about what my job was. I was never going out there to tie it up. So the role allocation really helped to develop mentally and really helped me develop my skill set according to what my team was demanding of me and how I should find myself back in the National Hockey League.
Okay, so now here's the thing. I know that when you entered the league, you entered the league, you had this mindset that you wanted to be the best. I've read this everywhere. I just love it, man. It's so motivating listening to the mindset. You wanted to be the best. Your goal was to be the top. Now, I want to know about Wayne Van Dort. Tell me about Wayne Van Dort, man. First of all, tell my listeners who he is to you.
Swoop, as he was called in the NHL. Dorpy was a big man. Now, subsequently, my first game in the National Hockey League was a fight against Wayne Van Dort, and then he ended up getting traded to Quebec, where I spent a year with him. Swoop's a great dude. All right, he's a big man. I mean, he was 6'5". He was probably 240, and he could skate. We called him Swoop because, damn, the boy could skate. Let me tell you. And he was a tough character. He was the heavyweight for Chicago, the first game that we played in Chicago. And Chaser ended up fighting both of us at the same time. And Dorpy and I, teed off and got the best of him. And that was like first game in Chicago in the old stadium. I don't know if you had that opportunity to even see the old Chicago stadium.
No.
Oh my God. tears in your eyes when they play the national anthem. You are standing up going, you can't even catch your breath. You can't even catch. The crowd is on its feet. You can hear the national anthem being played. And it's the biggest rush you could ever feel. I've made the National Hockey, my first games in Chicago. Life is grand. It was amazing.
And that's what the dream really is all about, though, isn't it, Twister?
It is.
That really, feeling.
You can't replicate that feeling. You can't. You always wonder why the rock stars want to hit the stage. It's not because of the money. Tell you what, it's the feeling and being in front of and performing. I mean, you know as well as I don't see nobody going for popcorn when the gloves are dropped. No, nobody's going for popcorn. They want to see what's going on.
Oh, yeah. Dude, yeah. But like, I mean, so that feeling, the feeling of hearing the crowd roar, knowing that you did your job. I couldn't even imagine what it would have been like for you in a stadium like that with friggin' Wayne Van Dorp. Get the better. It wouldn't even matter really, but you get the better of him and you go to that box. What was it like when you sat down, man?
Oh, did
you sit?
Out of my face. I had a mullet. I mean, I had a great mullet. It was a waterfall mullet. It was beautiful. Came down. It was just that's a great 80s, 90s mullet back then. And a huge smile on my face just because this is what you do. This is what it's all about. And, you know, Brian Sutter, coach, I mean, a legendary captain for the Blues for all those years, playing in Chicago Stadium, in the old Chicago Stadium, signing my contract in Chicago the year before in the Chicago Stadium to play to play in a preseason game in Detroit the next night. Come on. Beautiful.
So, okay. So now I want to know, okay, so how did you find out about initially the move to Le Capitale, Quebec City?
You know, I'm sure you know a little of his history, and you may or may not. There was, like I said, we played Milwaukee a bunch of times, and that was the farm team, Milwaukee's Vancouver, and there was a certain goaltender that him and I fell in ill will. McKitchen was his name. I was in a fight in December at some point. I forget what it was. Beginning of December. And I was fighting one of the defensemen, getting the best of him, and he decided to include himself. Hit me in the block, cut my eye, cut me over the eye. Left him, went after him.
So third man in. He was the third man in.
Yeah, 5-on-5 ensues. He gets behind the net, and he's holding the net, trying not to get around. The linesman get me out. I get 5, 10, and 2. All right. Bobby Plager was the coach at the time. I was out of my mind. And I served the time, got back at the bench, and Bobby said to me, Twister, I'll put you out there, but you don't be stupid. And I line up, and I remember this. I remember it well. I line up against their other tough guy, and I said, you got 2 choices, my good man. You can fight me, or there'll be other things. I dumped the puck in. Now, listen, it was a fair hit because McKitchen came out to play it. I dumped the puck in. He came out to the top of the circle. I hit him high. I didn't hit him low. I hit him chest on chest. All right? Chest on chest. Slid into the boards, and he was wearing the old-time helmet. You know, the old-time goaltender. He had back
the little thing on the back.
Nothing on the top. A brawl. Now, the brawl, bench clearing, we simultaneously, both teams stop. I mean, almost on cue. He's still out in the corner. It was not a great deal. He's still out in the corner. Brought the ambulance on the ice, took him to the hospital. Long story short, there was a couple other incidences in Peoria off the ice maybe and on the ice. And Ron Caron had said, they're trading myself, Andy Rimshaw, and Herb Ragland to Quebec for Darren Kimball. And that was in December. That was on January 8th, I believe. I got suspended for the rest of the games against Milwaukee, and I had to sit in the stands in that December. Chaser goes, oh, thanks, dude. You just left me blind because it was the toughest team in the league.
Yeah.
Besides us, and, losing me was not easy. And then a lawsuit ensued in thereafter. He sued me for whatever it may be. And nothing happened. Nothing happened. But ended up, he won 175,000 in the first court case. Then it was overturned in the court, and that was over. It was a huge joke, but it was a part of hopefully keeps everybody else out of the court. At the end of the
Yeah.
day.
Oh yeah.
We sign up.
I hear you. Yep. Right on. So, okay, and the reason why I'm kind of excited to talk about Quebec Twister is because I spent some personal time in Quebec. My career winded down playing in that semi-pro league. I played for one of the teams close to Quebec City, so I got to live in the capitale, bro. I know that city really well, man.
You played for it was you guys had a very interesting team, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, are you talking about like I played for a team in Saint Hyacinthe, Saint-Hyacinthe, which is close to Montreal, but I also played for a team called the Marquis de Jonquière, which is just north of Quebec City.
Yep.
And I had a bunch of the boys on my team, a couple other big names like Alex Penner and guy Martin Grenier that played in Philly's organization.
Yeah.
And man, it was quite the thing, man. But living in the capitale is what I want to talk about, Twister. So now listen. How old were you when you went there?
We had the young team in the National Hockey League at that time. Our average age was 23. I was 22, turning 23. Joe Sakic, Matt Sundin, Owen Nolan, Mike Ricci to follow the year after, Curtis Lesishin. I mean, the list just goes on. We had a tremendous team.
Well, I mean, a few years later, it would turn out to be a Stanley Cup championship team in Colorado, right?
95, 96. Yep. I mean,
that
after the Philly trade.
I mean, that was mostly that Nordiques team, was it not? Minus Patrick Waugh?
Oh, 100% the Nucleus.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we had a great club. The youngest team. Oh, we never won a game on the road one year. I mean, that's pretty hard to do given the gravity of who we had on the club. Damn, we had a talented hockey club.
But there was a couple seasons though that you guys did okay when you were there though, wasn't there?
Yeah, we just couldn't win at the road. We could win at home. Yeah.
Okay.
We went to we ended up playing Montreal in the first round of playoffs. And we did well. We won the first two games, and then we stunk out the building.
Yeah. So now I want to talk a little bit about old Quebec. Was the Dagobah still going strong?
Dagobah?
Yeah, man. Was it going strong then?
Oh, dude, excellent. It was the greatest place. Oh my Lord. Are you kidding me? Poutine after you get it on the street. Was it the Luda Colisée? What was it? The Colisée? What was the street? La Rue de Colisée? No.
I think you're right.
La Rue de Colisée, I believe. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Levels 1, 2, 3. You had the live band, then you got the rock, and then you got the disco and the dance music up top. Oh yeah, legendary. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
Hey, so what about guys like Matt Sundin, man? Was he getting down in the club, man? Was he dancing in the club or what, man?
Let me tell you, we had the games changed so much, my good man. When I tell you this, I mean it we had such a close club. We were all young. We all had youngsters, all right, but when we partied like rock stars, we partied with our wives. We got babysitters after the game. We did it together. We had such a tight club. We would go out after a game if we didn't have anything in Quebec. If we didn't have nothing in the next day or two, we'd all go to the Dagobah. We're upstairs in the VIP.
Yeah.
And then we're challenging the single guys to see who they could pick up, and they have to bring the girl by, and we'd rate them. This is happening where the single guys bringing the gal around, and we're giving thumbs down, thumbs up, making her turn, doing the show. Dude, that was a team. How close we were. It's not going to happen anymore because it's just not. And it's unfortunate because it was such an amazing feeling to have that cohesiveness.
Now, was Dale Hunter there when you were there?
No, he'd moved on.
He'd already moved on now. Okay, so my next question is Le Colisée, which is now called the Pepsi Colisée. That's quite the arena. Hey, man, it must have been rocking for Nordiques games.
So you take that and multiply it by 2 is the old Chicago arena, but the Le Colisée has the flavor. I tell you, it sure does. And the best show in the game. You know, you've had the hot dogs there, I'm sure.
Yes. Shea Show?
Shea Show. Every team that came in, they'd have 200 Shea Show on the way out.
And one puts in. One puts in.
Oh, well, there was probably more than one puts in there. coming out of the Dagobert, it puts in Gavad, merci, you know, with everything. It was amazing.
So, and just, I appreciate you sharing some of that stuff, dude, because I mean, that's what people kind of want to know about, man. Like, that's cool. Like, the team camaraderie stuff, I feel, is missing from today's game as well. So just letting people kind of know what it used to be like at the top level. How fun you guys would have with your wives.
It was so much fun. And unfortunately, given the gravity of cell phones, changed everything. It really did. It changed everything. And some good, some bad, but it inhibited and prohibited, you know, the availability of the players after a game or the mix with the crowds that you were able to mix with prior to the cell phone. And I mean this, we're not saying everything was bad and, you know, bad things, but, you know, you get caught in a compromising position where you're getting shot from somewhere else. You got video, you got people. It just wasn't very comfortable in there after, and it deteriorated the availability of accessibility to the players. You know, and that happened when we were in St. Louis. In St. Louis, Curtis, Joseph, Brendan, Shannon, myself, Chaser, Holly, I mean, just name the Pronger, McGinnis, all the way down the line, we could interact. But after the cell phone, we had to be very careful because, you know, out at Harry's at 1 o'clock in the morning after a loss. No different than what we were doing 10 years ago. Really, no different.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we were leaving anything at the bar. We brought everything to the table. And that's where the game was different also. Your team made sure you left nothing at the bar. The team made sure you brought everything to the ice. I don't care if you drink 2 nights in a row. Couldn't give a damn. What I do care about is in that third night, if you don't show up, somebody's going to get a licking in practice.
Yeah.
It happened. I mean,
yeah.
that happened. That was where that availability and accessibility to the players changed. So the relationship between the fans and the players changed. And yeah, that's unfortunate because the fans deserve, after, you know, the ticket prices and what you pay to see them, the opportunity to interact has been certainly stymied by you know, the circumstances of today.
I agree with that too. And that brings up a really big point right now, Twister, about today's NHL. You know how like I'm sure you watch all sports. The NBA is a players' league. Those players run the league, Twister. The players can do what they want to do. They have a lot of power, and they even have more power sometimes than the GMs and the coaches, right? Now, you go to the NHL. Did you see that Leon Drysdale interview today?
I did not see it. No, I'm sorry.
Have you heard about it?
I did, but I did not see it.
Okay, I can't wait till you see it, Twister, because I would love to be a fly on a wall watching Tony Twist watch that. Because, dude, I was so mad.
All right,
Twister.
Anyway,
I was upset with what happened today with Leon Drysdale. This guy is the NHL's leading scorer. So this guy's like LeBron James. Like, I know McDavid's a bigger name and all that kind of stuff, but this guy is right there. He's a superstar in the NHL. And it was the Hockey Night in Canada guy. I can't even think of his name. And he asked Drysdale, can you name one reason why the team is losing right now? And Drysdale just kind of, you know, like he rolls his eyes and he's like, everything. We have to do everything better. That's the reason. And then the guy goes, hey, Leon, why are you being so pissy? And he's like, I'm not being pissy. I'm just answering the questions. The guy's like, yes, you are. The guy was lecturing the NHL's top scorer. If that happened to LeBron James, he would just look at like someone and they would kick the press guy right out of the room. But in the NHL, it seems to be different, man. It's the old boys club still, Twister.
Well,
when it comes to like players' rights and stuff, man. Do you have that same kind of angle on it, or is it different? And if it is, that's fine. I'd love to discuss it, man.
truthfully, I believe that that's an uneducated man how to deal with the media. All right.
Okay. Okay.
I truly do. The reason I say that is, we have to do everything better. If you're, my opinion is this, and it happens here in St. Louis when I go out. Like I say, if I'm not ready to go out and engage, I might want to go out for dinner, but I don't go out for dinner. You know why? Because if you're a dick that night, there's going to be a ton of people remembering that dick and not what you did before. When you're asked an intelligent question, the guy who is asking the question deserves an answer. You can't just brush him off. Now, we got to keep in context, though. Maybe this guy was a dick. Maybe he was a guy that was, an antagonist on a persistent level, and this guy had enough of it. Armchair quarterbacks beat it. We don't know. Unless you've been on 3rd and 1, you have no clue. All you can do is report it. And that's why the position that you've taken, and you said earlier, you played the game. You've been in multiple facets in multiple leagues, so you can speak intelligently because you know what it's like to be in the third period with 30 seconds left, a goal behind with 2 points to make the playoffs. You know that feeling. That's the difference. That's the difference. And when I go back to, when I hear that, we hear what the media puts up, but maybe there's a back door to that. But my initial feeling is you owe it. You owe it as a player to answer the question. If you don't want to, I would prefer to answer that later. That's true. Education. I believe that we should have the opportunity as National Hockey League to be coached on how to do an interview. You should be. There's a lot of money out there. You talk about the National Basketball Association having ownership to their game. You know why? Because their TV rights and their media rights are huge.
Yes.
They really are. And they promote their players. We promote ours too. We have a different game. But if we have affluent, intelligent speakers of the game that can control each one of these markets on a per team basis, guys like yourself going out promoting the game and doing it in an intelligent way, like doing this stuff, it makes a mark and makes a difference where we get the opportunity to have better ownership of our game.
Yes.
Not the answer you're looking for, a little depth, I guess.
No, it was great. It was great. But it brings me to a good talking point that I wanted to discuss with you. Okay, so now Tony Twist on my show. This is so cool. So Tony Twist, I believe that you had the belt from the 93-94 season until the 99 season when you finished. I believe you had the heavyweight championship. Now, when I say that, what I'm talking about, because I know, I mean, I can only imagine that type of magnitude. I'm talking about on a lower scale. I know what it takes to be at the top of that type of thing on a lower scale. I know the preparation that it takes. I know the mindset that it takes. I know the time that it takes and the experience that it takes to get there. I know that even if you have the strength and power and will to do it, that sometimes you're just not ready to be that guy yet. You're not ready to be that guy. You're still the guy that's on the come up. You're not ready to have the title, because what that title takes is it takes taking on all comers. It takes taking on guys when they're at their all-time best, because they've been thinking about you for a week. You said 3 days. Try a week. A guy going to play Tony Twist in the 90s, he's thinking about him for a week. And then you know what he's doing? He's being very careful the day before the game, because he knows the energy that he's going to take tomorrow. All the energy I need on Twister. I got to have a very good day today, babe. I got to eat good. I got to do this. I got to do that. We're going to bed early. The pregame nap is a little bit extra long. Some guys wouldn't even be able to sleep at all, but guys that can get to sleep, it might be a little bit extra. I need this for Twister tonight. And so all this extra preparation for one guy, Tony Twist, that's what it takes to be that guy. And you were him. So now I want to ask you, Twister, do you believe, knowing that I know all the things involved, it's not just, oh, who do I think is the best fighter? Oh, it's Tony Twist. There's a lot more involved with it. There's a lot more. There's the intimidation factor. There's fighting through injuries. There's so much to it, Twister. Do you believe you had that title for the 90s, bro?
I believe that I definitely had control. and I'm not being arrogant, ignorant, and I'm not being, superficial when I say that. When you become a measuring stick, and you know that role, the way you describe that, fantastic, because I can assimilate, and I do understand the different facets of those attitudes and feelings as the days before a game progress, or the hours, or how many times you've watched video. Did they play last night? Did he fight? What did he do? Left, right, tie up. All those things come into the game. I had the privilege of being able to grow up in here where Bob Probert was. He was the man.
Yeah.
Bob, he was a superb example for me on how he showed up to every measuring stick. Bobby T, he played 20 to 22 minutes a game. Hold on. That's a tough. I don't care what anybody says. Your top centerman might gather 30 minutes. He might. Your top wingers maybe 25, 27. The game graduates, penalty killing, whatever, into the 30s. And your top defenseman in there. But hold on. He played, anywhere between 17 to 22 minutes. All right. He had to play two ends. He had to put the puck. He played a Stevie Y. Come on now. And then he had to deal with the blockhead on the other side, that being me.
Yep.
Got shift number 2, feeling pretty fresh,
Oh, yeah.
Not
sipping on Gatorade.
Not turning you down. And as a measuring stick, and continuously over the career, as we fought each other. Bobby P said it crazy. Bobby, God love him. He said, Twister, I'm getting too old. You're getting too big. What does he do? He goes and runs Holly, and I have to go after him. What the hell's that? He goes, why didn't step? I didn't say I was going to stop. I mean, the mentality for that is fantastic. I enjoy that. And when you ask about different players and, who enjoyed it and who not, as well as I do, I can guarantee you, the guys that were scared to do it, and the guys that love to do it. And you knew the guys that you could take them in warm-up by splitting the line, by giving them an eye, by getting that, by the sear to look like, oh, my God, who am I lining up against tonight? I got some psycho ready to go. It wasn't no act. My head was in the game. That's the difference. That's the difference, knowing the guys that were loving it and the guys that did it because they had to. I can name a bunch of players, and a bunch of players that, like Johnny Kordick, tough as nails. He passed away while I played in Quebec. Johnny K loved him. Most charismatic, energetic, witty man I've met. He is funny as beat all heck. He did not enjoy. He was sick. He'd coughing and throwing up. He didn't really enjoy it, but he was good at it.
Yeah.
He like it. That's the difference. How do you come out of this game looking like you and I, where you can talk and you can have a great conversation and do this? There's a lot of guys out there, my good man, that some tough things happened over the course of the careers, and it didn't happen all right. So it's how you approach it and how you get it. What you said prior to is important. You have to do that as a tough guy. All those things you said, very important. But you know what? The game ends. The game ends. It's not it's not do or die. It's not how many you win. It's how you come back after you lose.
Very, very true. So now this is going to bring me to this point, because this is perfect timing. Now, I believe, Twister, that things could have been a little bit different. The relationship between the NHL and the NHL tough guys over the years, because what it turned into is guys, suing the league, guys being very bitter, guys like, telling their story of how no one took care of them, okay, when they played. Now, again, on a smaller scale, I know the life that you live, brother, on a smaller scale. I also know that, Twister, as much as you enjoyed the battle, which I did as well, I enjoyed the battle, I enjoyed the preparation, I enjoyed the combat, and I enjoyed the fallout. If it was the fans, if it was the guy I fought, if it was the opposing bench, if it was the opposing coach, whoever it was, I loved it all, okay? But I believe that we did not get taken care of, my friend. I believe it could have been a lot different. Now listen to my angle. When you played professionally, okay, and you played for a long time, Twister, there was, the head coach, couple associate coaches. There was the power play coach. There was the goalie coach, strength and conditioning coach. You see where I'm going. Sometimes those even face-off coaches. All these little coaches. Where was it didn't have to have this title. Maybe it could have been strength and conditioning guy. But where was the tough guy coach? There was 2 goalies on every team, Twister. Some teams had 2, 3, 4 tough guys on the team. Now, these gentlemen, like yourself, Mr. Tony Twist, not only are you a fan favorite, not only are you probably selling the most tickets in the arena, okay? Not only are you probably selling the most jerseys in the arena, but you're also the best team guy. You're also the guy that the coach goes to. Hey, Twister, can you talk to this guy, man? I just can't get to him. I know that he likes you. Can you talk to him? You were the go-to for so many things, Twister. You had so many hats. People need to be reminded of this, of what the tough guy had to do on those teams. You were the team cheerleader. You were the motivator. You were the guy in the room that when guys with their heads down, you were like, come on, man, let's go. I'm going to fire you guys up as soon as we get out there, and you guys better follow my lead. I know that you did that, Twister. I know that you did it for a long time. So now let me ask you this. Let's say that when you were playing these years in St. Louis in the 90s, that once you got your 5th fighting major, that you now qualified for a special insurance because you are putting your body at bigger risk than guys on your team. So the NHL team has an insurance for those guys that hit the 5 majors. Now, don't get me wrong. I know some years you were hitting 15, 20, 25, 30 majors, but the 5th major, that's a guy that gets his nose dirty. Let's give him a little bit of protection. Let's give him a guy on the payroll that's overseeing these 2, 3, sometimes 4 guys in the team that fight every 3, 4 games. Let's teach them how to punch so they don't break their hands. Let's teach them how to fall so they can break their falls better. Let's have someone there when a guy gets his bell rung 3 nights in a row, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, in the IHL for Peoria, a guy that's playing on that team, and there's no way he should be playing that next weekend. Why wasn't there a guy saying, hey, give this guy the night off here? You know, you're a second leading scorer. He's got a sore knee. He's not playing tonight. Where my guy fought 3 games in a row. His career might end this weekend if he does it again. Let's give him some time off too. There was nobody overseeing those guys, Twister. It seemed like guys were just thrown out to the wolves. Like, how do you feel about that? How do you feel that you never got as much support? You were a super tough guy, but that doesn't mean that you should have to toughen it out more than the other players. Do you think that?
Well, you may be asking the wrong guy. The reason I tell you that is that when I put my name on the contract, I knew what I was in for, and I prepared myself accordingly. And I have a very extremely strong self-will, and I know what I was doing. I wanted to hurt the other guy. Let's not kid ourselves. There was no friends. I fought best man at my wedding, Kerry Clark, Wendell's brother. I fought Chaser.
Wendell's brother.
I fought I fought my best friends on the ice. And trust me, when I say this, I want to kill him. All right. And that's not a lie. I mean, I wanted to be the first guy to freaking destroy somebody on the ice. And that was my goal, because I figured if we're going to drop the gloves, we got to make it real. I mean, I'm not kidding. We're not playing anything else, but with the understanding that mindset was only held by very few. Okay. I take Mike Peluso, for example, and what you are explaining right now works extremely well for the situation he was presented in. Like Mike Peluso, the beginning of the end of his career is what the fight with me. Okay, when I was in Quebec and he was with Jersey, we ended up fighting, and I hit him, and on the way down, I mean, I held up and I hit him. Oh, he got hit in then the ice, and that was the beginning of the end for Mike. And that was to his self-admission. I feel terrible about it, but I also do understand his words in the dressing room that night, where every gunslinger has their day. Today was not mine. Didn't even know his name. He was falling off the bike and still playing. The position he was put in was so unfair and unprofessional. Now, is that part and parcel of that era? 100%. 100%. Your proposition at that part and that term of what was happening in the National Hockey League, they loved the fights. It brought fans in. Team loved it because you did the job. Acknowledgement on the league's behalf, man, we're going to have to bring the instigator rule in. Okay, all that said, super appreciated in all values, with the exception of the ownership and the team. In today's game, game's changed. Changed 100%. The gunslinger's gone. Do we need the gunslinger back? In some way we do. We got to keep accountability on that bench, and that accountability doesn't mean anything else, but you got to be afraid to chop down my best player, because someone's going to go chop down your best player. I believe that. And in part and parcel, I'm the wrong guy, because when I signed the contract, do or die, my name's on it. I don't give a shit. I'm going to go out there and do it. But on other guys who got influenced, got pushed around by, and youngsters too, Mike was a very young man at there. He's the same age as I was, a year older than I was, 23, 24, 25, and he continued on in the game for another 5 years. He got pushed around. Good education would have really helped. The guys and the players in that dressing room stood up for Mike, and finally, that's why he got some help. It was the players watching Mike not being able to perform. He got undressed and showered 3 times in Quebec after our fight.
Wow.
Right. And he played the next game against New York and the Islanders, and Baumgartner and him fought. He wasn't even close to being in shape to do it.
Jeez.
That's criminal. That's criminal. I don't agree with that. And plenty of guys, when I played, my staff and the people that were in the Blues, impeccable. Hey, never forced into a game. Never one time. Never one felt the pressure. Never one time. All on me. There's other teams that had different had different pressures and propositions for their players, as you well know. And yes. The proposition would have worked great back in the 90s. Now, in this day and age, that game's gone.
Well, here's the thing, though, Twister. Maybe I'll ask you in a different light. Do you believe that something like that, where the players are now more protected, we are now aware about the head injuries, if there was a guy overseeing those role players, do you believe that there's a chance that maybe it could come back into the game if the players are protected in the right ways? And ideas like, once a player gets his 5th major, he now qualifies for a special insurance, stuff like that. I think guys wouldn't be as afraid to put things on the line, and they would actually do that for their teams if they knew they were protected. And I think that's just a way for me and you to kind of see some of the old style come back, bro.
Regardless of what happens, there should be somebody on staff on a permanent basis to make a full assessment of any player that has a concussion situation, any player that's been involved in the fisticuffs, because, hey, the film tells it all. After the fight, I can tell you what, there's plenty of fights where I don't remember the end of it. They have to watch the video going, wow, I don't remember doing that. So, you got to understand that there should be. I totally agree. There should be allocation on a regular basis for these guys, whoever on every team, to be able to make those assessments for these players, because it's super important that we be able to maintain. It doesn't have to be just a tough guy either. It could be any one of the play, just any player. And I think when you're starting it that way, is there an opportunity for that game to come back? Have you ever seen a tax taken back?
Well, I hear you, bro. I hear you. But okay, here's the
hold on. Let me one more step. The game's too quick for us, bro. I tell you what, the guy what we did, all right? Let's be very serious. You watch the game today. Where do you fit? Where do I fit? I know where I fit. I'm being timed with an hourglass between blue lines. All right, the game is so much better and so much faster, so much talented. That role of a gunslinger has been apprehended. He's gone to jail. The next generation is going to be what it was back in the era of Brendan Shannon and Glenn Anderson driving the net. Those type of guys. The power winger, that's where it's at. And yes, that could be instituted into the power winger, because that is, and your big number one defenseman who's intimidating the shit out of somebody in front of the net. That's where it's instituted. Okay,
right on. I like it, buddy. Hey, I want to see the same energy throughout the rest of the show, buddy. That's what I like to see, buddy. All right, so now this is the other thing that I kind of wanted to get at. I wanted to hear the story. I'm a big I always screw up his name. Jamie McLennan, the goalie. Noodles.
Noodles.
Okay, so Noodles. huge show here in Toronto, Overdrive. Okay, the guy's on cable TV from like 1:30 in the afternoon to like 7 at night. Like, just he's right in the middle. Like, it's incredible.
That's
Now,
awesome.
I heard him tell this story about. First of all, he sat beside you in the room for multiple seasons, right, in St. Louis.
Yeah.
But he said 3. He said 3 years.
Yes, he was absolutely correct. And then for the final year, I had Grant Fuhr beside me, so it was
Ah, all right, right on. Fiercey, eh?
Well, it's because I was quiet. I didn't bother the goaltenders. I mean,
So Noodles is telling this story about how like he would get you fired up sometimes, and like he knew what buttons to press to get Twister going. And like the thing is there was a saying around the league, buddy, when you played. You know what that saying was? It was from like it would usually be like an assistant coach on your opposing team. What he would say to the guys after some of your shifts. You know what they'd say? Don't wound up Tony Twist. Don't wound him up. Just keep him quiet. Just leave him alone. Do not wound up the Twister. Okay.
right.
So that was the now. So okay. So now Noodles, that didn't apply to him. He loved to wound you up.
Oh yeah.
There was a game where you guys were playing the Chicago Blackhawks. Okay. And I guess what happened was Dennis Bonvie got thrown out on the ice, and he said something to Noodles, and Noodles told you, and you pretty much wanted to make a point in front of the team. Do you remember? Do you remember that scenario? Dennis has been a special guest on the show, and he's a big fan of yours as well. By the way,
I love him, Dennis Bonvie. You know, he played in Edmonton, did his role, came to Chicago. I feel bad for him because when he was thrown in the role in Chicago, he was going to do Bob's heavy work. Dude, that's 2 shoes don't fit into one of Bob's. All right.
Yeah.
So he was Bob's, heavy work, give him a break to do his thing. And God love me. Away. He was ready to rock with that role all the time. I do remember the game. Absolutely. We got out there and we swung it out. Absolutely. That was in St. Louis when he was playing in Chicago. And here's the deal. Bob wasn't going to fight me because I went after him. And, I don't blame him. Why would probably fight me? He's playing the second shift and he's playing first line, second line. I mean, I get it. Not that he'd been allocated a role. Dennis was supposed to do the job, and he was trying to get himself situated in the Chicago bench.
Now, do you remember how that fight ended, though? Because like it was pretty devastating at the end.
Well, I mean, you can watch the video.
Yeah, I love it, buddy. I absolutely.
I said it's not how many times you drop the gloves. It's how many times you show up when you drop the gloves. All right, that's all the respect in the world. It's not how many you win; it's how many you show up to. Dennis Bonvie showed all of them, and I don't speak bad about anybody, especially the guys that were dropping the mitts. Because
you respect all the guys that drop the mitts because they're putting it all on the line for their teammates. We know exactly what they did. So there's no way that we could ever be able to disrespect them, even if just for them for showing up, right?
That right, my good man. That's the code through and through, my good man.
That's it. So now, listen, man. I want before I let you go, Twister. I wanted to talk about the book a little bit too, bro. Like what year was it that you came up with the book? The book's been out for a while.
The book, when the book came out, 95.
It was 95 that it came out.
I'll tell you what, great book is because the guy who wrote it did a good job of the interviews. He did a fantastic job of relaying the stories, the feelings, and there was he didn't fill it up with a bunch of author bullshit. He put in what we talked about and got a good feeling for what we were putting out there on every page. A very interesting book because I tell you what, you had the best of the best at that time putting it on page.
That's it. So now, how obviously the books are it's still available, it'll always be available. How could our listeners pick up one of these books, man? The forward.
No freaking clue. How did that? On the internet, look up the code. I have no idea. Oh my Lord. I love you. You gotta prep me with these questions before, my good man. My research.
That's so proud.
You had to tell me I scored 36 goals. I mean, good Lord.
You guys, hey man, I'll tell you one thing. when it comes to characters, I don't think I've met a bigger one than you now, buddy. You're on the top.
Hey, big boy, remember this. Out of all the players you played with, who were the most charismatic? And I tell you, I played with a bunch of them. Todd Ewan. Hated him when we played against each other. We coached our sons together. Amazing man. Very charismatic. Extremely strong in the dressing room. Stu Grimson. Grimmer, probably one of the funniest guys you're ever going to meet on and off the ice.
And smartest.
And I tell you what, he's a smart man. You know, a born-again Christian. Tell him just one line after another. Chaser, all the guys that I fought, always the most care. Johnny Kordick, you know, super funny guy, you know, super funny and just charismatic. All those guys, and I'll tell you why. To do this job, my good man, and I know you have to have a whole bunch of family, and that meaning in your backfield, in your dressing room.
You do have to have all those bases covered. You know what I mean? Because of the support system, there's nothing like it. And with me, when I knew that my teammates believed in me and had my back, man, it seemed like I could accomplish anything. You know what I mean? And I believe that you have the same mindset for that. Twister, man, I know I kind of conned you a little bit with the time, okay? But man, you have no idea how awesome.
What do you mean you conned me on the time?
I told you that it was a 45-minute show, right? Buddy, you have no idea, like, the insight and incredibleness that you've said in these stories. You have no idea, buddy. And I appreciate it so much. Like, as a fan, I appreciate it so much. And I know that the listeners do too, buddy.
Well, I enjoyed the interview. You're doing a hell of a job, my good man. And I can tell that I know the history, and I know you did it well. So, and you understand the feeling. There's nothing you cannot. It's like a reporter. Like I tell every reporter does an interview. You know what you are? You're just a reporter. I'll tell you why. Because you've never done that last minute of a third. You've never been in 3rd and 1. You've never been there. You understand the role. You've been there, and you can speak on so many different facets of the game because you've been multiple levels in different integral parts. Don't kid yourself. This is what the game needs. It needs guys that have been there that can speak and ask the questions, and the energy that you're putting out there. Keep it up, my good man.
I appreciate it, buddy. I'm just trying to be like you, man. The energy you got is incredible. I just fed off it today. So I definitely appreciate it, buddy. And I want to yeah, this is great because, you know, we have a YouTube channel too, man. This is Tony Twist, the most feared NHL tough guy.
Have a good time because you've done a hell of a job tonight, and I certainly appreciate it much.
So
oh my God, those two tennis balls in a socks. Oh, hold on.
So, no, buddy, I appreciate you doing that so much before we just finished here. But I want to thank the listeners for tuning in to another episode of The Sheriff featuring special guest Tony Twist, the Tony Twist.
Thank you.
We're gonna sign off now, guys. Woo! Twister.
Woo!